Every single time it's been worth it for me to be wrong. Whether it's your own healing or entrepreneurship, you're gonna have to have multiple ego deaths eventually. And that was a huge one for me that completely catapulted my career. I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we think like we know best. And like turns out we don't know everything.
Hannah Huante is the founder of How Han Sees It and the podcast of How I See It. What started as a fashion and lifestyle blog in San Diego has now grown into a platform and now an agency built entirely on one idea: showing up online in the mess of it all, exactly who you are. In this episode, Hannah and I talk about exactly what it means to live unapologetically, not the polished social media version, but the real, true you. We go deeper into her own mental health journey, the ego death of pivoting her own business, and why productivity can actually become avoidance. The beauty standards we think we're meeting with other people, and why choosing yourself is actually one of the bravest things that women can do. This is a conversation about building a life, building a brand, and a nervous system that actually can hold all of it. I'm your host, Natalie Smythe of Her Daily Rhythm. Thank you for being here. This is certainly one that you don't want to miss. This is also a very different episode where I speak to a real woman building real things, doing all of the things. It was so much fun, so you don't want to miss this. So welcome to the podcast, Hannah.
Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm really excited. So I guess let's dive straight in, shall we? What does unapologetic look like to you right now?
I like that you ended the question with right now, because it started in the very beginning, like when I was in college and decided to start a blog about being seen and being me in like more of a like, I don't know, like more rooted in anger, I think, because I hadn't like really worked through any of my shit. I hadn't like looked at myself in the mirror. And so it started as like kind of this rebellion against like never being able to be who I was. And then as I dove into healing and therapy and regulating my nervous system, it turned into me realizing that I had been so mentally unwell for so long because I wasn't unapologetically aligned. I wasn't aligned with my authentic desires. And now I think as, you know, the podcast has grown and the business has grown and I've like hitting new chapters of healing, it's turned more into like, I think bravery. Because I think pursuing your deepest desires and alignment takes bravery. Because I think a lot of times being unapologetically us doesn't always feel comfortable and it doesn't always feel authentic at first. Because I think a lot of the things that we actually truly are kind of subdued at a very young age.
So how did you know to do that or trust yourself or back yourself to channel it into something?
I wish I could say it was like this day I woke up and I was like, this is the work I must do. But I think like, and though it was kind of that, I think it was more of like a place where it's you either keep going or you don't. So I think I just hit this wall with like my depression. I was very suicidal on and off growing up. And I think I hit a place in college where I was like, okay, like I'm either going to pursue the path that I know I'm capable of. I knew that I meant for more. I'm either going to pursue the uncomfortable path and actually go for what I know I'm capable of, or I'm just going to kind of like end it here. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm not that person that's going to give up. At some point, like God, the universe, like life shows you that you can't keep going the way you are. And even now in my own healing, anger is still something I'm having to like unravel. But I do think at that age, it was something that I did utilize and fuel to get me to keep going. I couldn't live the way I was living anymore. I realized that I wasn't as comfortable as I had convinced myself to be. I say on the podcast all the time, get uncomfortable for the sake of real comfortability. I was just so incredibly uncomfortable and had convinced myself that I like was deserving or that I had to like stay there, you know? And so I think it hit a point where I was just like, okay, well, the worst that can happen is I stay the same. The best that can happen is like my life completely changes.
And do you think that was a wake-up call for you? How did you not become numb by it and go more into it and victimize yourself?
A lot of people don't want to say this, but, you know, I will. You get so stuck in the victim mentality around like what's happened to you, the trauma you've been through at a young age, the ups and downs. Like we've all been through like really hard shit. It's the reason why I started the podcast. I think when you listen to other people's stories and you actually hear what other people have gone through, you realize that we're all kind of going through the same thing. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm perpetuating my own misery.
Hmm.
Like, you either get shit or get off the pot, you know? And I think I just like made a decision one day that I was like, I'm not going to live like this
Mm-mm.
anymore. Because I think the depression and the anxiety and all of that, like that was like all I knew. And so I think I hit just like a place where I was like, there are lots of people that like don't feel this way, or they're at least able to function while feeling this way. And I know that I can do that too. And I think like we hit a point where we become adults, and like it becomes our responsibility to like reshape our world. And I think that's kind of what happened.
You have to go into the deep, dark floor to get yourself up and realize that there is no other option.
Yeah. No, in hindsight, I feel really thankful that it happened to me at a younger age. Because
Mm-mm.
I do see people around me in their late 30s and 40s and 50s dive into inner work. And at an older age, you're more set in your ways at that point. Everyone has to look in the mirror. It eventually happens.
I actually went through the same thing. It really makes us who we are. You're now in the business of helping other women be more visible online. So, what do you see them getting wrong?
When it comes to showing up online, if you have a business, you're trying to build something, you have to be showing up. That's just the reality that everybody's coming to terms with now. And so I think the thing that people are intimidated by is that they feel they have to be a certain way. They have to
Mm,
like, play a part. And the reason why like influencers even became a thing is because people were enamored by people's authenticity. Like we built a billion-dollar industry on people showing up as themselves. And so I think if I were going back, I think I would probably, and again, like I think you just learn in hindsight and you kind of have to go through the ups and downs of it. But I wish I would have been more comfortable just like showing up as me. And I think a lot of making a decision to be our unapologetic self is like giving ourselves the freedom to like explore who we are. We're not given a lot of like freedom or empowerment to explore exactly who we are and who we want to be. Show up online like you're FaceTiming your friend. That's what people want. Everybody wants to feel seen. And
mm,
the way that we make people feel seen, whether it's online or in person, is showing up vulnerably to a conversation. And vulnerability doesn't have to be some like deep trauma all the time. Vulnerability is just showing up as a real person.
how did you start from a blog to a podcast?
I have loved fashion my entire life. I started as a fashion creator, but like I was going through mental health stuff. And so I had like made a decision, like I want to like share my outfits and also talk about the fact that I'm like going through depression and anxiety. And at that time, TikTok didn't exist. Reels didn't even really exist when I first started. I realized like I couldn't talk about a depressive episode on the Blazer post. Time to graduate to something where I could talk more. I want to foster conversations that helped me get to the other side, because when you're on the side of hopelessness, like you can't see the end of the tunnel, and once you're over you realize that it was like a jump away. And so it really like motivated me to want to try to get other people who were in my shoes to see that like they were capable of getting themselves on the other side.
And what helped you?
I just needed someone to like validate me. Sit in a therapy chair and talk it out and talk about like I grew up in a very chaotic home, and the emotional abuse I had experienced and the gaslighting I had experienced. And then also taking responsibility of the fact that though that didn't start with me, like I was perpetuating those patterns in my life. And so once I got past all of that, a lot of my depression and anxiety started to fade away a little bit. It comes back in waves, but it's not even close to like where it used to be. And I think I was just holding so much in. I mean, you could see it. Like I look back at old pictures and it's like I'm so inflamed, I'm so puffy. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like I was just holding it all in so tightly. Being able to say again unapologetically how I felt got me the first way over. Being unapologetic continues to be a choice that we have to courageously take again and again and again. And shockingly, it gets harder. I thought it was going to get easier.
The bar keeps raising for ourselves,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
I was telling someone the other day, I thought that I had been through the hardest time of my life, and like something always tops it.
That's it. It's like you've chosen to walk this path of your truth. You were giving like the shadow that you had to walk through, and you did so young, and it makes you stronger, it makes you so wiser. You're a light for everybody.
Thank
But
you.
then it just deepens. It's not easy, this path, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
as you get deeper and higher in your business and have new responsibilities or new challenges, how is your mental health, or how do you deal with it?
Trip is like a mental health journey in itself. If you
Yeah.
haven't, if you haven't worked through something, like it will come up for sure. What's come up for me in the last few years, especially as I've scaled and grown and got busier, is the I think like a lot of women are like this, like especially highly ambitious women, like productivity essentially becomes avoidance. And so
Mm,
I've achieved and grinded for so long. And I think over the last 2 years, I realized that like I was picking up the computer at like 9 o'clock and just working till one, not because I had to, but because like I can't sit in my feelings very well.
mm,
I feel I'm a very open person, but vulnerability, especially with myself, I think is like very difficult. I don't think it's like a skill that I was able to sharpen or refine at a young age. And so I think it's being, as I've built the business and pushed hard and like gotten success, it's been all great. But I think that it's come with me realizing that there's a lot of work to do around avoiding feelings and being able to sit with myself. I mean, we always say like the best entrepreneurs are avoidant with feelings, keep working. And so I
mm,
think it's shown me a lot about trusting people, about productivity, about what it means like value wise and worth wise to continue to work and like how I can
mm,
detach those from identity. So much pops up because I think it's all intertwined, especially when a business is your personal brand and like who you are. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way about their business, like it's their baby, it's like so much of who you are. And
mm.
so things are bound to pop up in the mirror.
It's a mirror reflection, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does being an entrepreneur change that? Are you happy you chose entrepreneurship?
I couldn't imagine sitting behind a desk. I think there's this wave now that everyone's like, be an entrepreneur. And I don't think for everyone, and I don't think one's better than the other either. If you have a mission in your heart and like something that you want to offer the world, entrepreneurship is essentially being of service of other people, whether it's a product, a brand, a service, a business. And yeah, I guess sure you can say like, I want to make a lot of money. But I think at the end of the day, like it's not going to fulfill you in that way. There has to be something there. So for me, I think it's been very satisfying because it's attached so much to my healing. I feel like my salary had like kind of hit a wall too, especially with a lot of people don't realize with content creators, like your salary is based on like an algorithm you can't control. So like that's not great for anxiety.
Mm,
A lot of people around me were asking like, how did you do this? How did you build this? And a lot of people were asking me to start like a social media agency. It was so triggering for me. Like it was such a hit to the ego that like I would have to like do something else. Like I was like, this is the plan. I was going to be a content creator and a podcast host, and that was going to sustain me through everything because it was led and rooted in my mission. It
mm,
took me like 6 months to like really grieve this idea of what I had thought my career path was going to look like. And it
mm,
sounds so stupid talking about it in this way, but in the moment, it was not. It was like a total ego death I needed to have. And I think it was a fear of like letting go of control. I'm very much that person that like knows exactly where we're going. I've gotten more flexible as I've gotten older. I ended up starting the agency. It like quadrupled my salary. It is the best thing that has ever happened to the business. It has allowed the podcast, my own socials, the community events to flourish in ways that aren't even like I didn't even think were possible. Being able to level up and fuel engines in ways that I didn't think I was going to be able to for a while has been so rewarding, and the connections and the challenge it's given me emotionally and personally as well has been amazing. Whether it's your own healing or entrepreneurship, you're going to have multiple ego deaths eventually, and that was a huge one for me that completely catapulted my career. I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we think like we know best, and like turns out we don't know everything. And yeah, we can really step into things that we didn't even know we were capable of even enjoying. And I think like to answer your question, like I am very happy, and I think if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have painted a different picture of what I thought would have made me happy.
We don't know what's possible for ourselves, right? You're in beauty and lifestyle, a lot of comparison. Like, how have you dealt with that? And then, like, aging as a woman as well. I mean, even though you're still very young.
It's so hard because I like want to say something, but then I also want to be honest. I feel like
Sure.
I've never really struggled with comparison a ton. I think that I truly believe like every woman has like a unicorn trait. I think, like every person, but I think specifically women have like unicorn traits that they really need to like step into and utilize. And I think you just find it as you get older. For me, I think mine was like I don't like naturally compare myself very often in the sense of I think I've always felt, and I think this is my showing a little bit, like I've always felt very like alone in the world. And so I think to me, I've always like beat to my own, and I kind of just like am like, well, like no one's there anyway, so like no one gives a shit, like type of vibe. In regard to beauty, that is something that has been really hard for me. I think my confidence, who I am as a person, like my capabilities, my business, like what I'm doing online, never would like compare myself. My body, my looks, for sure. It's something that has been a weak spot my entire life. Never the girl that felt like pretty or popular or confident in my looks at a young age, and I think it followed me through adult. And I now I've had to like kind of face that in the mirror and be like, you're never going to be satisfied. Eventually I have to accept that like you are good enough, and it has nothing to do with anything but trying to sort through your own self-worth. But it's hard. I think it's easier said than done. I think a lot of people will come on a podcast and be like, you have to do this and like know you're worthy and like whatever. But we live in a day and age where it's very hard to be a woman. It's very hard to look good enough. And half of the time it's not even real, comparing ourselves to. I think at the end of the day, I think there's a level of acceptance that needs to happen, that we're never going to be content. And that's not our fault. I think it's a little bit of human nature, but I do think if we can just stand true and I'm going to do what makes me feel good, that's what I've always done. Like I've always pursued the things that I know like will make me feel good.
And it comes back to unapologetically being yourself, right? Because when you are in your unicorn power, when you are unapologetically you, like that's what's magnetic. I was having this conversation with this elder gentleman about like femininity and sensuality and like the path of women. I don't know why, but he said, do you know what the most sexiest thing in the world is? Like a woman in her wisdom years that knows herself.
Wow.
There is nothing more sexier in the world. And I think, like, can you please be an advocate for all of us? But I think, like, we're in this trying to catch up, like the looks, and it's fun, right? It's beauty. It's a celebration of adornment because it's something that we've done since civilization. We've always like adorned ourselves in beauty in every culture.
Yeah.
But I guess it's coming back to that remembrance of who you are.
We're taught from a very young age what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to look like. Our eye is trained for the female gaze almost. And like how other women like want to like look to each other. And I think to your point, like the older I've gotten and the more I've dated and just talked to men, because like I'm straight, like the more I've realized that like everything I thought that was beautiful and attractive is like not what they think is about.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of the beauty standard for women is motivated around like finding a partner or like looking a certain way. And a lot of the looking a certain way is created by media and stories growing up and fairy tales, but kind of like perpetuated by women. And so it's interesting as you get older, what you realize other people find attractive about you, and the way we carry ourselves. I feel like the times that I've had like no makeup on and I'm running around and I look crazy, but I've like shown up as myself and I'm talking to people and I'm confident, are the moments that people are like, wow, she's like a beautiful person, and I feel that back to other people too. Sometimes it's like the person, especially in this digital age, that shows up in a way that's just like so unique and funny and cool. And it's because they're being themselves and they're confident in that. And I think that shines outwardly a lot of times.
It goes back to energy, just retweaking the energy and everything.
Or even recently, I have been embarking on another chapter of my healing journey. The book doesn't end, apparently. And,
Nope. Nope,
And
nope, nope.
I feel like I've had like like a huge shift in some things that have been like holding me back a lot with like anger and like the way I'm functioning on like a day to day. And I've had so many people recently just be like, you have like such a good energy about you recently. Like or like just like random people like complimenting me on like my energy or like what I look like, but you can tell it's not like surface level. So
Mm,
interesting how like removing some of these things that hold us back emotionally like projects outwardly as well. And so I think a lot of times like in the moments maybe where we're feeling comparison or we feel like we're not doing enough, I think that's more of like an invitation maybe to look inward of like, why do I feel in the moments where I'm stuck or I'm hiding from myself or I'm being avoidant? I feel
mm,
miserable, I look miserable, but in the moments, even when I feel really, maybe things are hard, even like right now, like I feel like I'm doing a lot of work and like emotionally it's hard, but
mm,
I'm like proud of myself and like I
mm.
therefore that makes me proud of like my reflection and the way I'm showing up.
It's a good experiment, I think, too. It's like, okay, do some work, do some like crying or get rid of the numbness or like find that thing and then go out into the world and see
Yeah.
like how people receive you. And I think it
Yeah.
goes back to that thing is like, no one gives to like tightness. No one gives when we're gripping and holding on, but like open. And you
Yeah.
just want to give to things that are open and light.
Yeah, which is like so much easier said than done too. And I get it. It's really simple, but it's not easy. And I
Hmm.
think that differentiator is important. And it's so hard to like let go of the fist. I can sit in the uncomfortable because I think entrepreneurship is very much not knowing, but I think that I'm really confident in my abilities. And so, like, I know that I'll get myself out, like, whether or not, it goes the way it's supposed to. But I'm very, like, meticulous about doing the things I need to make sure I get the result. And, when it comes to healing and relationships and emotional stuff, like, you can't do that. And it's
Hmm.
very frustrating as someone who is so controlling to not be able to have control in those moments. But I do think, to your point, like the grip and the tightness, like it's not an attractive quality that someone wants to be around. And I think it's not something that we deserve to sit in either, even though it feels like we have power in that.
Mm, 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 mm. Because we can punish ourselves, can't we?
Yeah.
How do you find your personal rhythm? What grounds you? Do you create rituals? As an entrepreneur, so busy, doing so many hats, like you have so much responsibility. And as a woman, I think because a lot of women are struggling, like, how do I do this? How do I do everything? And be healthy and be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's actually crazy. I don't know how we're supposed to keep up. And
Mm,
I think, again, like when it goes into like being beautiful or whatever, I think you just have to do what feels good. Like for
mm,
me, like a skincare routine. I like, like having good skin and like feeling good in that because I like can't wear makeup all the time. Maybe that's not the thing for everyone. Maybe you're more of a hair person. So that means like you're gonna wash your hair and blow dry it every morning so that you feel your most confident. I don't want to sit here and be like, I do my skincare routine, I do these peptides, I do these vitamins, because it's like you can't do everything. It's not realistic. So I think it's picking the thing that like makes you the most confident. And so for me, it's like my skincare, I like love Botox. Like I get Botox. I like get my eyebrows laminated. Like I invest in the things that I know make me feel good. So
mm,
I think like I choose those routines. So it's
mm,
kind of the last year and a half, but it's been like game changer for me. I wake up an hour earlier than I normally like would have. So I wake up at 6:30 instead of 7:30 and go on a walk. Like just a
mm.
walk. It's the only time that I feel like during the day that I'm not going from one thing to the next. So it's created space for me to reflect. And I think a lot of times people feel stagnant in their own like healing, their mental health. They're not creating enough space for themselves to even be able to like think and reflect on their feelings or the thoughts that pop up or the insecurities or the anxieties. So creating that hour for me to not just like immediately roll over and grab my phone and go into cortisol spike has been really, really good. And then I work out 5 days a week. Yeah, like I'm not like a super, again, like I said in the beginning, like I have been working through really trying to figure out like why productivity has like, I've just leaned so hard on it. And so I think at night, like I have the worst night routine. Like it has always just been like work till I fall asleep, do my skincare routine, go to bed. And so I'm trying to create routines that allow me to explore like sitting and just like being curious. And so this year I like downloaded this app called Imprint. I'm like obsessed with it.
Ooh,
And they're like little mini chapters of like learning in like different subjects, like a
cool.
halfway actually like learning something. And it feels like productive relaxation and fun for me. So I think again, like being curious about your patterns and creating ways that you can actually make change is important. I think it's really easy to sit here and be like, you have to stop doing the coping mechanism that you've been doing since you were a kid and decide to magnesium spray, supplement, and go to bed and red light and put your phone down. But like that change is not going to happen because it's like that's way too,
Avoidance.
and it's just way too drastic. Like there's no way I'm going to be able to get there sustainably. And so I think finding ways where it's like, oh, well, that kind of feels good. So I think it's creating routines that make you feel like you can be closer to like your authentic self, because your authentic self is not anxious and your authentic self is not, you know, unworthy. Like I think all of us desire to be like this highest, you know, version of ourselves. Yeah, well, and sometimes I think it makes us like not feel good enough. Watching all these things that you think you should be doing and you're not doing them perpetuates this unworthiness or like I'm a failure. And I think that's why it's always been important to me to like show up online. I think it's normal to be messy. Like it's normal to be human, and it is not sustainable to be this like ultra disciplined 100% of the time, and you're going to ebb and flow. And I'm very disciplined in my work life. I have a really hard time in my personal life because I'm human and I like can't A plus in every single pillar of my life. And I think you only see what people show you. And so at the end of the day, it is normal to not have it together all the time. And that doesn't mean that you're not in a good place either.
Women are messy. Like, look at our hormones.
Yeah.
It's changing over a 28-day cycle. It's not the same, but
Yeah.
we're told that we have to put it together and this perfection.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you would say to a woman who wants to build something but keeps waiting until she's ready?
Oh my gosh, you're
Until
never going to be
tomorrow.
ready. Never going to be ready. It's just procrastination. Like I think I see that a lot, men and women. Like people are like, I have friends who like talk to me like over and over about like things they want to do, and then they never take steps forward because like something hasn't happened yet. I haven't gotten a certification. I have like it doesn't seem like people want this. I don't know how I'm gonna create. It's like just do it or don't.
JFDI. Yeah.
Yeah, just do it or don't. We have so many resources now, like to make it so easy to figure out how to start something. And I think at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with enough like resources to learn something or like enough to take a chance. I think it's like a mindset block. You just have to you just have to like decide. I think you can, you know, everybody says like a little bit every day, but I do think it's just like being disciplined about like moving forward. So like for me, like I don't very rarely do like I end a day without finishing a to-do list. It's like this is the to-do list. It has to get done. Like am I perfect all the time? No, but like I do think like that's how over time I've built success is like I just like do what I have to do every single day. Every single day, just do what I have to do, and it moves the needle forward. But people are paralyzed by the fear of like, well, what if in a year I'm not making like what I need to make to pay my rent and whatever? And like, yeah, that's a real fear. It's a real anxiety, but like you sitting in it is not going to change anything. So you either do something or you don't. I also think that like a lot of people think they have to quit their corporate job or quit what they're doing to start what they're doing. And I would argue like you should not do that. You're going to have to sacrifice and work harder, you know, and like do things at the same time. I think content culture has painted a picture that you can just quit your job and like do what you want to do. And like it's just not how it works. Like you have to work maybe a full-time job and also start your business. You have to, you know, do a 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and a 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., you know, outside of your, but how bad do you want it? And I think like at the end of the day, if you are not willing to put your, you know, fear aside, like if you can't somehow move forward in fear or you can't, you know, sacrifice more time, then I just truly believe like you don't want it as bad, and you probably shouldn't pursue it because you have to be able to sacrifice everything for it. And I think a lot of people have more time and more privilege to do so. But I do think like if it's on your heart and you have like 5 kids and you're running a full-time job and but you also want to start this, it's like you kind of have to start with what you got. And like if your sacrifice is having to just like each night do a little bit to move forward, like that's your sacrifice. Or if you're someone like me, when I started, had the privilege of like not married, don't have kids, like I'm by myself, like I dove in, I did it. I worked a job. I did it at the same time. It was much easier, I think, than, someone who's in their 40s who has like a family, but you do what you have to do. And again, like it's procrastinate. Any hesitation around moving the needle forward, even just a little bit, I find to just be like fear. And at the end of the day, like always say like fear, anxiety, all of those things, like they're just signals. They're just human signals. Like you should be scared. If you weren't scared to do something like or take a risk, like I would be concerned. Like human and like being a human means like you're going to be anxious, angry, scared, fearful, but we have to be able to move forward through it.
The fear doesn't ever go away, and even people at the top of the game in their 60s will tell you the same.
Yeah, fear doesn't go away. I think it just changes. Like your anxieties change around certain things, and like things I used to be scared of, I'm not scared of anymore. But I think like the beginning is hard because like you haven't taken a jump yet. But like once you take a few, you like have a timeline. So you're like, okay, I took that jump. I was fine. I'm alive. I made it through. I do another one. And so I think some people are maybe more natural to it because like for me, I grew up in like a very chaotic space. So I think I had already proven resilience like at a very young age. So I think it made me more like drawn to entrepreneurship and able to kind of go through the ups and downs of that. Like I don't want to be too morbid, but it's like when you want to like die, like you can take risks more because you're like, cool, this isn't as hard as overcoming that. But I do notice like the people who I have friends who've started companies recently and like at first they were so scared and like to take even small risks where I was like, this is like the smallest risk ever, but to them it's huge because they've never done it before. And then like a couple years later, they're making a massive decision around their business and it's like, they're not scared at all. They've already proven to themselves, like, I can do hard things. Like I can get over a failure because it's not like you're believing that a failure is not going to happen.
It's a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where in your life are you choosing yourself more?
Not distract myself so much with work. I'm really trying to get curious about when I am like slipping into avoidant productivity and when I'm actually moving the needle forward. I don't want to say happiness because I think that's relative for everyone. I think for me, that's just choosing instead of like everybody else. Like you said, like I think women love to manage, they love to control, they love to take care of everybody, whether it's in business, personal life, friendship, romantic relationships. I think like a lot of that is just like not like distraction from taking care of ourselves. Like taking care of yourself is very vulnerable and confronting because you have to like face the things that you haven't maybe felt yet. And so I think it's actually like being courageous enough right now to like choose me in that.
The journey of our lives is to deepen our vessel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. Oh, I'm so happy for your vulnerability and just being real with how hard it is.
And I think the sooner we can reconcile with the fact that like life doesn't really like owe us anything. And it's a part of the human experience to go up, really, really up and really, really down. And I think that's the only way we can feel the really, really up. It's the only way we can feel joy and happiness is if we have the other side of that spectrum. And I think once we can just accept that and like stop trying to fight that there are going to be hard times, then I think it gets a little bit easier to like roll through those moments.
What does the next chapter, what are you building toward?
The podcast is growing, which is like very exciting. I just want to continue to grow the community of people on who are like vulnerably sharing like their stories, what they've been through. We want to do more events with like actual listeners and like build community in real life. I think it's really evolved with what comes and what shows up. Like, I think after the agency thing happened, now I'm at a place where when something continues to pop up and show itself and like something needs to evolve, like I follow it and I step into it. And so just being able to plan and be strategic, but also surrender to the fact that things change. But the mission has never changed. And I think that's important for people to remember. Like, your mission never changes, but it looks different.
And it's always greater than you imagined too,
Yeah.
right?
I look back at moments and I'm like, why was I willing to die on that hill? Like, imagine if I did, you know? And so being able to, in those moments where things feel really anxiety inducing and like you're faced with the decision to pivot or change or move or grow, I think it's really important to like choose courage in those moments, because like at the end of the day, we only know what we know. And like, every single time it's been worth it for me to be wrong.
I love that. Every single time it's been worth it. Wow. I mean, such great wisdom. Thank you so much. Is there any final moments of wisdom that you'd like to share, or what you'd like people to feel after listening to this podcast?
Just less alone. I think like I think we all are very lonely. I think whether you're in a relationship, whether you have a ton of friends, whether you have a family, like we still tend to, I don't know if it's just human nature or the world we live in, we tend to isolate ourselves in our own experience. And at the end of the day, like we're all going through the same things. Why I started How I See It, why I started the podcast. Like I think to have a daily reminder or weekly reminder, if you're listening to the podcast, that like, you know, people are going through the same things all on different levels. Like I'll listen to people's stories and I'm like, why am I even complaining right now?
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder that, you know, we're not alone and like this is just a part of the human experience.
Thank you so much. Well, so people can tune into your podcast. It's released every week. You have your blog, you have your Instagram. Han has a whole ecosystem, which is so cool to tap in. It's so fun.
Just follow the podcast at How I See It. We drop episodes every Tuesday. And then my personal is How Han Sees It, which is more of like the fashion, beauty content.
Amazing. Great. Thanks a lot, Hannah. Thanks so much for your time.